Hello. Guys to always have access to. Okie doke. We ready? I'm sure we are. Thank you so much for joining us, for rushing back from work to get here or meeting from the parking lot with us. Pia and I have been planning this class for you and working on materials for you for a long time now. I looked back, Pia, and my email chain today, and we first started emailing about this in August of 2017. So it's been a long time coming, and we really are excited to have the chance to present you guys with the materials that we've created and all the knowledge that we've pulled together, and we're working on getting you ready for. So you guys are all in the right place. If you're the type of person who loves interpreting, and if you're ready to get even better at your job, and if you're sick and tired of one-size-fits-all court interpreter trainings. I know that we sent out an email to this end, and I've also mentioned that I do a lot of teaching all across the country, and I can tell a definite difference between the quality of training when I offer it in Spanish, which happens to be my other working language, where I can get specific with feedback and with terminology with my colleagues, as compared to when I do an English-only session. An English-only session helps to a degree. It helps people understand the finer points of interpreting and know what to expect in an exam setting, but it's just not the quality that we're looking for when what we really want to do is take people to the next level with their skills. So this is a really exciting opportunity, and so if these things describe you, you're in the right place. Your instructors, me, my name is Kelly Vargas, like we've said before. I'm a federally certified Spanish interpreter, and that was something that I earned in 2013. I began interpreting in the hospitals in 2007 and found my way into the courts in 2009, and have never really looked back since then. One thing I noticed, even as a Spanish interpreter, when I was trying to gain footing in this profession, was that it was really hard to find cost-effective, good training from instructors that I trusted. And so one thing that I'm very passionate about is taking my other career, which was teaching even before I found interpreting, and melding all of the things that I know about instruction and education, and helping more of my colleagues become better at what we do, because what we do is so essential to the court systems and to the hospitals and to the community. And so that's basically what gets me out of bed in the morning. Like we said, I'm joining you from Omaha, Nebraska. So if you ever find yourself smack in the middle of the country for the College World Series or something, you've got your house here in Omaha. Please look me up. I've got 2 kids. Like I said, they may come barging in at some point, but I'll shoo them right back out. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and in my spare time, which I haven't had a lot of lately, but when I do, I really love to knit. I think in a place like Manila, you probably wouldn't want to mess around with a lot of nice warm knitted scarves. But that's a hobby of mine. So that's me. And you have another instructor, and that's Pia Arboleda, PhD, Filipino language extraordinaire expert. So Pia, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, magandang hapon po. So ako si Pia. I've been teaching since I was 22 years old. So this year makes 30 years of teaching experience. My background is in Philippine language and literature from De La Salle University. So I was in La Salle for my undergrad to my PhD. So our joke is if I get a wound, the blood that will come out is green. So I'm a green through and through. Sa ngayon po, ang trabaho ko ay ako yung head ng UH, Manoa, Philippine Language and Literature program. It's the only program in the United States that has a bachelor's degree in Philippine Language and Literature. We have around 500 students every semester taking the language. I'm not a court interpreter, but I am a translator, a literary translator, and I teach translation, Philippine folklore, Philippine food, and I come to this from Hawaii, so Honolulu. So if you're ever here, please look us up. Welcome.
I'm going to take you up on that one of these days, especially one of these cold days in Omaha.
So, Mary, do you have any questions so far? No?
We're just listen. We're just ready to listen.
Good for you guys. Oh my goodness. If my high school Spanish students had been half as nice as you are, I probably would have kept that job. Sheesh. One thing I should mention is that there is, if you, again, hover your mouse around the screen, there is a chat feature. So if you have urgent questions, for example, that you don't want to necessarily pose to the entire group audibly, you can always type them. And then P and I have the advantage of working together on this, so whoever is not speaking at the time may be able to monitor the chat a little bit. So that's an option for you. Hello?
Excuse me, Kelly, they couldn't hear me. They said they couldn't hear me.
Can you hear Pia now?
I could hear her.
It's very soft.
Okay.
Can you make the volume louder?
I will try, but...
There, that's better.
Is it better?
Yes, I could hear you now. Clearer than earlier.
Okay.
Wait.
Perfect.
Thanks. I saw that on the chat. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And, whoops. And the other thing, you guys can from your computers, if you need to turn the volume up for somebody and down for somebody else, you can do that without worrying that you'll mess things up, because you can still use your machine more or less as normal. But good. Let us know when you can't hear.
Sounds good. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Kelly? Okay,
yes.
good. Okay, well, nice to meet you, Kelly and Pia.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, so I'm here. Okay.
You made it. Great.
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did want to mention your fearless leaders. I don't know if Carmen and James are here. Are you guys present right now? I bet they may be joining and coming in and out of our meeting. And if they're not here tonight, they'll view the recording just to get a sense of everything that's been going on. But everybody who works in the state of California, we do owe a big thank you to Carmen Castro Rojas, who works as a court services analyst for the Judicial Council of California. She began reaching out and finding Pia and other instructors quite a long time ago. And part of her vision has been what has brought us here today. So we're thankful to her for all of her leadership on this. From those of you from the state of Washington, we're very thankful to James Wells, who I couldn't quite find his specific job description, so we're going to consider him our fearless leader. And he's works at the Washington State Court Interpreter Program, and we owe him a big thank you as well. He contributed to the initial vision of wanting to bring Filipino Tagalog specific training to you, and he worked with Carmen to fund the program so that it's so cost effective for you guys.
Yes, thanks
Thank
to
you.
James.
Thank you so
Really.
much,
James
James.
and
Yes,
Carmen.
we're
Thank
all
you.
so
Thank you. We're grateful for that.
to you guys.
Yes. Been
Good.
looking for something that was affordable for me. So this is great.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm sure they will be thankful, or they'll be pleased to hear how thrilled you guys are. This is definitely cost effective because of all the work that they've been doing. So I'm very thankful to have had the chance to work with them. Okay, I'm going to keep going, but I think we still have some microphones on. So I'm going to ask you to double check and mute anything that you can. And if we can't, I might be able to find some of them and mute them. Just one moment. As you notice, there we go. I think that was it. This is one of the the growing pains to meeting online. So it's really beautiful to be able to meet up with people from all over the country and spread a training out over a series of weeks as opposed to trying to cram it all into one weekend. But sometimes the downside is fighting with the technology. So thank you in advance for your patience with all of that. So those are the folks that we owe a big debt of gratitude to. Now, for tonight, what we are working on and wrapping our heads around are the 3 points that we have on the screen right now. So what's the point of this class in general? How is this crazy online setup even going to work? And what's even going on with this certification exam I've suffered through and heard all about? And we're going to talk about those 3 topics for you guys tonight. So first of all, what's the point of this fabulous class? Our basic objectives are the ones I'm about to go through. First of all, it's important for us and you to identify your weaknesses as an interpreter and work systematically to improve them. The term there that's key is systematically. I'm going to be working with you. That's part of where I step in as an instructor, is to help you guys develop the systems that you need to really take your skills to the next level. Interpreting, as you all know very well, is a cognitively complex task. It's no simple matter. And the more complex a task is, the more we can benefit from breaking it down into little steps and mastering specific steps at a time in order to really improve our performance on the job. So that's a big part of what we're going to be doing in here. Another thing that we're going to be doing in here is helping you guys increase, because I know you're all working. I know you've all passed a written exam. I know that you've all worked on the oral exam. So I know that a lot of what you do already is accurate and extremely well done. Our role here is to help you increase the number of situations that you accurately interpret in, increase the length of time that you can interpret accurately for, help you develop strategies to stay accurate and complete even when you're faced with brand new material. All of those things play into our objectives as your instructors for this course. And the most exciting part, I think, for a lot of us is that a main objective is to help you identify and use proper renditions in Filipino Tagalog of court terminology, and really beyond court terminology, the type of terminology that you'll be tested on in the exam setting. And that's where Pia really comes into play, is she's bringing her expertise to you. She's developed a lengthy glossary for you to use and keep. She's translated 6 units for you for court settings. And she's helped me translate the mock exams that I've developed. So you'll get to pretend you're taking the certification exam 3 times over the course of our 10 weeks together. And I know that that might not be exciting and good news because the exam is so overwhelming and scary and stressful. But actually, in a training session like this, it is good news because you get the chance to practice it and experience it without having to go through all the stress of finding out your scores and all that. So that's a very exciting component of class. All right. How does class work? I'm excited to say that that so far we seem to be getting a feel for it very, very well. And that's great. In this course, there are 2 components. The first component is all the work that we do together as a group. And the second component is the work that we do by ourselves on our own. For the work that we do together as a group, we will basically be meeting every week online in this Zoom webinar format. Exactly what we're doing right now. This is exactly what you need to do every Monday, excluding Memorial Day, for the next 10 weeks. You're going to click on that link. You're going to have your headphones, and you're going to show up. If you run into issues, you'll let us know. If you have travel commitments or work commitments that you've had for a long time and can't get out of, you're going to let us know so we know not to expect you as part of the group that week. And then we will let you know what you need to do to make it up. So the work that we do together as a group is exactly what you're experiencing right now. And this is the schedule of classes, 10 classes starting tonight, ending June 25th. And within the next couple of weeks, we'll define which night, the week of May 28th, we'll have our alternate class. Okay? Questions about that so far? You can turn on your microphones and let me know.
I would think that the alternate week would be the Monday after the 25th, wouldn't it?
28th. Monday the 28th.
Oh, right, the Monday after the 25th.
28th.
Right, the June 25th. We may have a little bit of trouble with that, unfortunately, because of the fiscal year ending when it does in California and Washington. So if it were, if it weren't for that issue, we could just carry it on one other Monday. But unfortunately, I think we're going to have to explore maybe a Thursday night class or a Wednesday night class. And if you are unable to attend because you can only be here on Mondays, of course, you would just let us know, and we will make any adjustments and let you know what exercises you can work on.
I'm good with the schedule, Kelly.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I know that it represents a significant commitment for you guys, that everybody has a lot going on. But we will work very, very hard to make sure it's well worth your time. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
When is the actual oral test, would you know, for Washington?
For Washington, my understanding from James, and hopefully he'll attend different classes and we can find out from him specifically, is that he is willing to organize an exam date specifically for you guys.
Yay!
So,
which is after this sessions, right?
Right. It would be at least after June 25th. Okay. And honestly, I think the more that you get to work with us, the more you're going to think, wow, I need a long time to really absorb this stuff. So you might not want the test to be Tuesday, June 26th. You know, as a group might want to decide when you want to have it. Right. Maybe later September. On.
Yeah.
Yes. And I do believe California's is in September, actually. Does that sound correct to those of you who are joining from California?
Yes.
I think it's March and September.
It's all in March and September.
Perfect. And I think it's just because of the sheer size of your state, I don't think that they are as able to offer individual language, alternate test dates. But if you finish in June and you spend July and August working and reworking the exercises you get in here, and then even you could add in some of the English-only exercises that already exist in the field, by the time you take the test in September, you'll be uber prepared and you won't have forgotten anything. It's kind of a myth that with interpreting, you want to take all this training, then boom, take the test right away or you'll forget it all. No, the idea of our training is to help you internalize all of this stuff so that it becomes part of you. It just falls right out of your mouth when you need to interpret it, so that on the day of the exam, you have no choice but to just perform at the level you're supposed to, because this stuff, because you know it, as opposed to having heard it and crammed it in your head on one Monday night.
Yeah.
Will we be able to have a chance to actually have an idea of how the test is going to look like or how it's going to be administered?
Yes. So,
Okay.
when you look at our course objectives, notice that we don't have anything on here that says help you pass the test. Okay. Let me explain that a little bit.
Right.
That would be nice to have.
Why not?
Yeah. Give them all the answers on the test.
I want to hear somebody.
Close.
Right. How do we do? Yeah. No. The reason is that the way this test works is that it's actually a very comprehensive picture of your skills as an interpreter with a whole bunch of different kinds of words. And so really what you have to do to be able to pass the test is become a better interpreter. And so you can see that the course objectives in here are to help you become a better interpreter. And by extension, that will help you be more likely to be able to pass the test. Now, I did mention that we have mock exams. The mock exams are something that I designed and Pia translated.
Action tayo.
That's the example of the feedback I was talking about. Let me see if we can. Oh, there we go. It's getting a little better.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. This is Carmen.
Hello.
I'm very sorry for joining late. I had some transportation issues, and now I seem to be having some computer issues.
Oh no!
Hi, Carmen. It's Pia.
Hi, Pia. Hi,
How are
everybody.
you?
So,
Hi, Carmen.
Hi, Carmen.
Hi, everybody. I'm doing okay. I'm gonna put myself on mute while you finish what you were saying, and then I'm gonna see if I can get into the program. Okay.
Okay, sounds
and then
good.
When you're ready for me to give a little welcome, I will be happy to do that. But let me know.
Okay. Carmen, do you have a set of headphones? I think you said that you did, correct? Once you have those plugged in, I think that may help a little bit with the feedback.
Okay, I'm gonna get myself situated.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put you on mute for a little bit. Okay.
Okay. Let me see. I want to make sure. Still hearing just a little bit of echo. I'm still hearing an echo. Let me see. Okay. I think we're set now. So what I was saying was that the way to really get to where you need to be on the exam is to become a better interpreter. We do have mock exams designed for you. These are exams that I've taken and designed based on my analysis of the exam description materials available at the National Consortium for State Courts. I've analyzed how something called scoring units work, and how long the exercises are and how many words they have and that sort of thing. And I've gone through and chosen the same number of scoring units that you'll be scored on the day of the exam. So are the exams like what you'll face when you take the certification exam again? The answer is yes. Are they the same as what you will take on your exam day? The answer is no. And that's because I am a court interpreter, not an exam writer or exam evaluator. So I've just taken the information that's available to all of us and applied it to the type of things that we deal with as court interpreters. But they'll definitely be challenging. I'm not going to give you a super easy test and then have you leave and think, woohoo, I'm the best interpreter ever. And then have you go to, to your day at the test and then fall on your face. No, it'll actually be like the other way. I think you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get this interpreting. And then you'll go and boom, you'll be excited about how you do on the exam. I think I see that James is here too. Did you make it, James?
James, are you here?
I see something that says James's iPhone. So I bet you're working on trying to activate it and join us. Carmen, is this a good time for you to welcome us, or do you need a little bit more time?
No, this is a good time. I am trying to do this app thing, but anyway, this is a good time. So, first of all, again, my apologies for not being late. I want to welcome everybody. My name is Carmen Castro Rojas. I am representing the Judicial Council of California, and I am the person that some of you have been in contact with regarding this training. The state of California is very interested in increasing the number of Filipino Tagalog candidates who become court interpreters. And we decided to do this training to help people improve their skills. So I got in the call at the time where you guys were talking about the exam. So I just wanted to say that we are very interested in the state of California in having excellent interpreters. So what that means is that candidates really must focus their energy on improving their skills, because people can pass an exam, right? Believe it or not, people have. We have 1,800 people in our master list from all different languages. So obviously it's possible, right? What is a little more tricky is to be a good interpreter and to really keep up your skills and have the longevity that we would like all court interpreters to have. So we joined forces with Washington State, and we selected the trainers who we consider are caliber people, and they both are experts in their own area, certainly linguists and people who understand how to teach these skills for the candidates to improve it. Now, they can do their part in teaching the candidates, right, all the participants. But the participants have to do their part in order to really acquire the knowledge. And this interpreting is a demonstrating a skill type of job. So every day you will have to demonstrate that you know how to interpret. So that's why I would like us to focus on the improving of the skills. If you focus on that, then chances are really high for you to be able to pass the exam. But if you, and a lot of people choose being an interpreter because there are different reasons, but one of them is that they really enjoy working with people and using both of their languages. In some cases, they know more than two, but for the most part, it's two languages. So we would like people to be able to improve, the skills during this training so that they can continue to do what they love, which is to engage with people, to help people, to be able to use their languages, to help people communicate, to have language access, right, for the court. So there is 10 weeks that we'll be together, and the trainers will walk us through the technology as well as to the knowledge, and there's a lot of practice. The expectation is that California highly subsidized this training for all of you from California. So it is a very expensive training, and the expectation is that you show up, right, and that you participate and that you do your practice. So we would really like to see that taking place. And it is a very unique opportunity. You were all selected, so this was by invitation only to attend this training. And also it is in your language, Filipino Tagalog, and it is online, which allows you to participate from the comfort of, your home, your office. So we would really like for you to take advantage of all those factors and give it your all. And, if you focus and concentrate on that and your skills improve, and then you'll see that the exam is just, one more thing to do. I am really happy that both Kelly and Pia are your trainers. They have taken a lot of care, or like we will say in Spanish, cariño, which means love, tender, loving care, to develop this beautiful course. And I know that week one is a little, iffy because we're all trying to get to know each other and all of that. But, we'll get to the exercises. But I just want you to know that they are really committed. They put a lot of effort and cariño into this training, and I would like to see that all of you as participants do the same. And just a last word, I really want to thank James from Washington State. We worked together, and believe me, we had to work at times hard to get both of our judicial councils to get to agree and finalize that contract between the states for this collaboration. And so even in that, this training is an innovative effort in the United States. So it's very exciting, and I want to thank James for all the work that he did on behalf of this training. With that, I send it back to Kelly, and thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce myself, and the California Judicial Council welcomes all of you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We did give you a round of applause earlier, so maybe you can catch that in the recorded version. But we were
wonderful.
We were very thankful for everything
Wonderful.
that everybody has done. It's really exciting to have finally brought this to fruition. And it's very exciting that we have such a stellar bunch of people who are poised to take advantage of everything. So it's going to be great. That said, it is also very innovative. So Pia and I are specifically interested in learning from you about how the experience has been for you, how much you've learned, things that you found challenging that we could adjust to make it then easier for other groups, all of that stuff. But like we've said already, we have 10 weeks together, so we'll get to all of that. Let's get back to what we were discussing about how class works. Work we do as a group is what we're experiencing right now, and there's always some bumps in the road when we're first trying to adjust to a webinar format. So if you have had trouble joining us tonight, or if you continue to have trouble down the line, stay in touch with both Pia and me, and we'll help you get things sorted out, because the last thing we want is for you to not take advantage of all this learning because you're frustrated by the technology. That would absolutely not meet our objectives, so we'll make sure it doesn't happen. We've discussed our schedule. Now let's talk a little bit about the work that we do on our own. That's the second component of class. There are two different online pieces at play here, and one of them is Zoom, which is what you're experiencing right now. The other is Canvas, which is what some of you have already gotten into and looked around a little bit. I like to compare Canvas to our textbook and Zoom to our classroom. So Canvas is where you're going to go to get exercises. It's where you're going to go to hear recordings. It's where you're going to go to post comments, that type of thing that you would have done back in the dark ages with the book, right? Whereas Zoom is where we all come to meet live. All right. Uh-oh. I just got a text from somebody saying they lost connection. Has anybody else lost the connection?
No.
I see you all
No,
here.
I'm good.
Let me text this individual back. Did something happen? No. I'm going to have them go back into their email and make another click, and hopefully it'll work out. If not, we'll catch up with them. So Canvas is the textbook. Canvas is something that I added each of you to once you registered for the course. So you received something in your email, to allow you to access this online textbook. Let me show you what it might have looked like. There are, I think, around 9 of you who haven't taken this step yet, which is okay. You haven't missed anything, but you'll want to check your email. You're going to get an email from Instructure Canvas, and I think it says course invitation in the subject line. I just resent you all of these invitations, so they should be in your inbox, the inbox you registered for the course with. If not, check your junk mail folder just in case. But once you find that email from Canvas, it'll look something like this. And you're going to click on Get Started. Okay? Once you click on Get Started, it's going to lead you to Canvas's website, which I think, like we saw on the previous slide, is canvas.instructure.com. And it will either say use your account or create an account. Use your account, that's what you want to do if you've ever used this website for a community college class you've taken or a university class you've taken or anything. If you already have the account, enter those details. Most of us do not have a Canvas account already, so you're going to create your account. And that means you put in your email address and login name, and you put in your password. You make it up. Okay? Once you've done that, it'll take you into the course I invited you to attend. And you just hit accept. And from there, you can navigate the course. And each week, your job is to prepare a set of interpreting exercises. So let me show you what I'm talking about for those who haven't had a chance to delve into this very much. Sometimes I can't get to the right screen. So one moment. All right, student view. Okay, once you've accessed Canvas, you're going to see something that looks more or less like this without the purple. Home, announcements, syllabus, modules, grades. Okay? Announcements, this is where I'll put things, just information that's valuable for you to know. For example, the week of Memorial Day, I'll post an announcement reminder. Remember, we're not meeting Monday night. Catch us Wednesday or whatever night we determine it'll be. I will be in touch with you on that. But that's basically just information. This had you had access to the course and known how to use it, you could double click on this announcement and you would have found tonight's link here. So if you forget your email and your email kicks you off because they think you're a spy, then you can come into Canvas and access the link to the meeting here as well. All right? So I'm just trying to get that information out to you in as many places as we can. Syllabus, you're welcome. The syllabus is what you would expect. It's the list of assignments and the list of how the course works. Do note, you'll have, oh, whoops, I guess it does say July 30th. So maybe, did I say August 2nd? I could adjust that date. But anyway, it does expire towards the later end of the summer. So you will want to download any of the materials that are in this course that you want to keep prior to that date. the syllabus or the course outline is what was underneath the link I just clicked on. So if you want to have an idea of what we're going to be doing in a class or what you need to have prepared for class, you can look at that. You can print this out and have a nice copy of everything that we're going to be working on. And then down here, course summary, there are assignments. Now, we've talked about how Pia teaches college classes and how I'm an interpreting instructor. And these assignments here do have due dates and they do have grades attached to them. Nobody's going to come and kick you out of class and, you know, say you are an unworthy interpreter if you don't put an assignment up here. But they do exist for a reason. They're here so that you are invited to reflect on the material that you've been working with, which helps you remember it in the long term. And they're graded with a complete or an incomplete. So just kind of keep an eye. It's a way for you to track what you've been doing in the course. And you can access them if the due date's passed, but just kind of keep an eye on that. Now, the bulk, the meat of the class, the exercises that I was telling you about, the videos that I was telling you about, will be under modules. Each week, you're going to see a new week worth of material appear. So right now, we're on week 1, so you have week 1's material. You'll see a to-do list, the things that you're prompted to work on over the course of the week. Attend our meeting. Again, I have our meeting links posted in Canvas so you have another place to find it. Activate your Canvas account. Again, many of you have already taken care of this, so you don't have to worry about it. If you haven't, poke around in your email and let me know if you can't find that. We'll get it figured out. I do want you to reflect and try to figure out some time during the week that you can use for studying, because we're all extremely busy, obviously. And really, what interpreting requires, success in a course like this, requires time on task. It requires for you to sit and work. Take some time to think about whether or not there are things you can eliminate from your list of responsibilities for the next 10 weeks. Can somebody else do the grocery shopping? Can you use your lunch hours instead of socializing just for the next 10 weeks? Use your lunch hours to study. Can you spend, I don't know, afternoon or time prior to going into hearings? Can you work through some exercises? Just think about where you have pockets of time that you can use to work on this course and what things you can eliminate for a short period of time to help make yourself more successful. And then complete any exercises that are posted under week 1. Okay? Once you've looked at an item under a module, you just hit next at the bottom of your screen, and it'll take you to the next prompt. All right? So here's the prompts. This is a graded point. Some of you guys have already taken the time to introduce yourselves, but it would be wonderful if everybody could. So this will help us keep us all straight. And that, oh yeah, then when that's done, you go down to next and move on. And what I've posted for you here is information on the basic modes of interpretation. One of our things this week is to jog our memory a little bit about what we even do as interpreters. We spend time sight translating. We spend time in consecutive interpretation mode, and we spend time in simultaneous interpretation mode. So part of your task for this week is to review what those modes are, how they work, and there's some information in here on how to improve and how to study in those. Okay, so that's this week. As we find important reading material for you, we'll post it in the corresponding week. We'll let you know what's in there. And then this type of module setup is where you're going to find your interpreting exercises, is here, where you're going to be able to hear the audio and see the scripts and access the glossaries. this is the place you come for that. And each week, it'll be revealed what you're going to be working on. Okay? Does that make sense so far?
That makes sense to me, Kelly. Thanks.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Sounds very good.
Look how good you guys are at technology. See?
Really?
Who knew?
Who knew?
Right. It's very overwhelming at first, but it starts to fall into place. Okay?
Yes.
So that's where you find the work that you do on your own. Each week, starting next week, you'll be preparing a set of interpreting exercises. Okay? Now, this is where I'm going to get into a little bit of the theory of how learning to interpret works. I'm not going to go all full throttle on you because I know, like, Pia and I and Carmen and James, we're the teacher types here. You guys might not need to know all the intricacies. But basically, I was really thrilled a couple years back to discover the work of a guy from Florida State University. His name is K. Anders Ericsson. And he is a scientist who basically studies what people who are really good at something do that regular people don't do. And all of his work is very, very applicable to what we do when we're working on improving our skills as interpreters. As we were saying, it's a complex endeavor, and it requires purposeful, concentrated practice to do a good job at it. So I'm going to prompt you guys each week to be doing something called the Focus, Feedback, Fix-It method, which comes from this guy's work. So basically you take those 3 steps on every exercise that you do, that we prompt you guys to do. This is where that time factor comes in. So the focus comes in when you jump in and you do a recording of the exercise, start to finish, without giving up. You record yourself, okay? You resist the temptation to look at the writing and to get all the vocab and to make sure you have it perfect. No. You focus by throwing yourself into that exercise, making yourself uncomfortable, forcing yourself to complete it, even if it's a disaster. Okay? That's focus. And on top of it, you record yourself. I know it sounds a little sadistic. That's it. But hang in there with me. I promise it'll work for you. Then you work the feedback method, the feedback step of the method. You play your recording of yourself back, and you read over the written version that we've provided for you. You ask yourself what your errors are. Okay, am I messing up on the legal terms? Do I not know how to say any words that have to do with clothing? I don't know. What is it that you are struggling with? Do I get really too far behind on simultaneous? How do I fix this? Notice what your errors are. And then the fix it is, as you might have been able to predict, is redo the exercise and fix those flaws that you noticed. And you ask yourself what you need to do to reach 80-90% accuracy. Vocab, pace, do whatever you need to do until you're happy with your performance. Feedback and fix it, Pia and I will play a part in those portions of the feedback, the focus, feedback, fix it method, because we'll be hearing your performances during the life of the course as well, giving you tips, giving you guidance. But you need to listen to yourself and notice what you're doing well, notice what you're doing wrong, do more of what you do well, do less of what you do wrong, and we'll get you there. Okay?
That'll be great, because I'm looking at 80-90% accuracy, and they're only looking at 70% to pass. So, hey, 89% is great.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, we should all be aiming at 100% of the time for 100% accuracy. But these are challenging exercises. They're hard. And so give yourself work for 80-90, work for 90-100, whatever you feel comfortable at. But we want to over prepare you for the day of the exam. Like we were saying, we want to turn you guys, as you are today, into better on-the-job interpreters by the time that you leave. And by extension, your likelihood of doing well on the exam increases. Why? Not because you've learned all the answers on the test. No, because you've become better at your job over the course of the time that you're with us. That's where our emphasis is at.
I think you'll find that it's easier. You might find in the end that the actual exam is easier than the ones you've practiced with. So, and it's easier because you've already earned and learned the, you already have the skill, and the exam is just icing.
So
Exactly.
Kelly, Joel Rohano here. Kelly, the exercise is going to be on Canvas.
Yes.
Okay, so we record ourselves on this system now through Canvas, and through that, you guys review it.
That's an excellent question, and thank you for asking it. You can use, I don't believe that Canvas has an integrated recorder. So you can use your smartphone. You can use different programs on your desktop or laptop computer. Pia and I can compile a list of resources for that. And you'll record yourselves. Those are mostly for your work, but one for your analysis. We will have you, not every week that we work together will be Pia and I lecturing. A lot of what we do will be saying, Joel, interpret, ready, go. And then I read a part and you interpret, and Pia reads a part and you interpret. And then we say, okay, this was excellent and this needs some work. That's where the feedback comes in from us. But you have those recordings for yourself, so that you have a guide for the times when you're not in class but working.
Yes.
On this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
so the recording I upload for you guys' critique.
You can. We will, built into the class, part of your tuition is a meeting, a one-on-one meeting. You'll meet with me for a while and you'll meet with Pia for a while. And we'll discuss the things. This will be more towards the end of class. We'll discuss what we've noticed, and you'll get the chance to tell us about your growth and all of that stuff. You are welcome to submit recordings, and if you were to miss class for any reason, we would definitely require recordings to be submitted. But you'll be getting feedback live. You won't always be getting a detailed analysis of every exercise that you do from us.
Okay.
Make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
On a little side note, I am literally handicapped or disabled right now in typing.
Okay.
So I just want to have that out there.
Sure. Okay, well, you have our phone numbers.
Yes.
So anytime you need to call, and as opposed to type, get a hold of us. And then we can talk. I don't know if you have any voice activated dictation software built into your phone, that kind of stuff. So maybe those could be fixes, but we'll get you through it.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have another question, Kelly. For the materials in the textbook, how long after the course do we have access to that prior to the exam itself?
You are welcome to download the exercises and keep them for as long as your computer works and doesn't break down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's part of what you purchased when you enrolled as well, is access to the materials. These are in lieu of a book, so we do ask that you use them for personal use, and send all the people that you want to us, as opposed to, distributing it and everything. There are a few things that you'll have the right to distribute, but the material is downloadable and it's yours. The course, the Canvas account, will become inactive around August 2nd. It's quoted as July 30th. So mid to late summer. So plan on having everything downloaded by those dates. I just have to clear out the Canvas course every so often because I only have so much memory. Otherwise, I'd leave it there forever.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So that's how the course works. Pia, what am I skipping? Anything you could add or elaborate on?
Gusto ko lang po sabihin sa inyo na basta kung meron po kayong mga tanong, pwede nyo naman po kaming i-email anytime. Mabilis kaming sumagot sa mga email kasi syempre yung klase natin masyadong malaki, baka nahiya kayong magtanong, pero kung meron pong mga tanong at saka kung meron kaming maitutulong, ibibigay namin sa inyo yung mga kaya naming sagutin. Pwede naman one-on-one sa email.
My goal is to know a little bit of Tagalog by the time I'm out of here, you guys.
Salamat, Pia.
Well, actually, I did a training before with Pia, and I have to tell you, I understood everything she said.
Carmen is now an expert in Tagalog.
Woo!
Carmen, I'm in trouble now. Carmen, I'm in trouble now. This is Joel Romano.
Exactly. So be careful what you say about Carmen.
Carmen understands.
I have a lot to say for the Judicial Council.
Exactly. So,
Okay, Carmen, nice to meet you.
What I did wanted to say on a serious note is that I understand that some of you do it right now interpreting. So I think that the exercises will be really helpful to you week to week. So it's almost like, you're working in this course, but if you interpret during the week, you will be able to see how things apply from the course. So I think you want to keep an eye out for that, like to see even if as you improve week to week. And Kelly, okay, maybe that's my clue to stop talking.
I hope
I'll stop there.
Okay. Well, hopefully, maybe it'll resolve and you can come back to that thought.
I have a question for, this is Dulce Pino. I have a question for Pia. Pia, with the new Filipino Tagalog, what are the changes that we will incorporate in our training?
So that's one thing that we would like for you to understand because of the changes in what's acceptable under Filipino. There are many terms that you can just say in English. However, there is a hierarchy.
Will it be Taglish or what?
Most of the time you will have to, if it's a legal term, it would have to be accurate in Tagalog. However, for others, you can use the English terms if they are not available.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we will go over during the 10 weeks. When is it acceptable to use an English word, for example, numbers, age, etc.? But the priority is for you to try and understandable and to the target language. So we'll go over those tips. We'll run over. Legal terms are very, very strict. So for those, you will really have to try and say them in Tagalog if a term exists.
Mm-hmm.
For others, you could use the English words, especially available. Like computer is computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So those things we will go over with you during the 10 weeks that we'll be here.
Right? That sounds good.
Oh, did you hear me well, or was it softer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I have one other question, Pia.
Yes, sir.
Those words that you were referring to, whether they be appropriate in English or if there is a Tagalog counterpart, will those be pretty much included in the glossary that you're going to be giving us?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So we'll
Okay.
give you options in the glossary at least. Yeah.
Thank you.
But then again, you never know what sorts of things that words you will encounter in the actual court setting.
Yes.
You never know. So what we're doing is trying to provide you with a wide range of vocabulary and the glossary. But you never know what sorts of other things you will need when it's in the actual court situation.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Pia.
You're welcome.
So actually, Pia, the words would be a mixture of like court, court terminology as well as medical interpretation and all that. It's different scenarios, right?
The glossary is attached to the exam, to the exercises, and then you have one that is alphabetical.
Oh, can't hear you.
So the glossary will, just repeat, the glossary will come with the exercise that you are getting, and then you get an A to Z legal, from English to Filipino, A to Z glossary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if there are terms that you encounter in your everyday court interpreting that aren't on the glossary, I would appreciate that you tell me and we will include it because it is something that is going to be updated as we go along. It's, of course, language is very, it changes, every day as we speak, but we update the glossary as well.
Great. I have another question though. Is it important to have a Filipino English dictionary in hand while we're having, on this course? Or I'm sure we're going to use it eventually anyway. So
yes, a dictionary is very useful. But remember that that's just for training because in court you don't have time to look up a word.
Mm-hmm.
If you're already there, the dictionary has to be in here already.
Oh my gosh. The whole book.
Yun ang masakit. Yun ang mahirap.
Yun ang nakakanervyo.
Ito na dapat nasa isipan Kaya,
exactly.
Pero kung magsasanay po tayo, medyo madali naman. At saka marami dahil tatlo po yung actual na exercise na makukuha natin dito sa klase na to. So, talagang may sight translation, may simultaneous, at saka mayroong the other one, consecutive. So para kayong yung parang actual na exam ang inyong makukuha. Tatlong ganon ang mayroon sa buong training na ito. Pero ang talagang makakatulong po sa inyo yung pang-araw-araw ninyong pagpunta sa korte. That's the only thing. That's the only way you get the training. Of course, what we can give you is, ways not to be nervous, know what to expect.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is actually dependent on actual experience. Yung mga matagal nang nag-i-interpret, mas marami na pong alam kaysa sa amin, di ba?
So, yeah, and I think it's a mixture of the, self-confidence and the skill as well. So I think, and I'm hoping that, I get that, at least part of that from this course because that are the main things for me.
Opo. Huwag kayong matatakot. Yung mga exam dito, mas mahirap.
Okay.
Parang mas mahirap yung pagkaka-design namin ng
really?
exercise
Wow.
for this. So it should be, dapat masanay kayo. Hi, James. I can see you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you, Pia.
Meron pa po bang mga tanong? Wala.
Yeah,
James,
hello,
would
Pia.
you like to say a few words?
Hello, Pia. This is Ike of Bay Area of California.
Hi.
Ike.
Yeah, I took the exam, the oral exam for court interpreting. I didn't prepare for it. I just walked into it, and you're just thinking.
Wow.
And, I never studied. I find sight and consecutive very manageable, even if I don't prepare for it. But when it comes to the consecutive, it crushed me. So yeah.
Opo, totoo yan. The consecutive is very difficult, I would imagine. Also because from what I know and heard, it is time, and if you lose your, yeah, if you panic at the beginning,
Put a
then
headphone on your ears and they let you
the rest of it,
they give
you
you
know,
a
it,
recorder like
it
this one.
will be very, very challenging.
Yes.
So,
Recorder, and they give you like, okay, start interpreting, and just like it's where I failed.
It's nerve wracking, actually, to say the least.
so hopefully we can get you, give you some tips about becoming relaxed. But
Yeah,
like we
listening to
said,
your approach,
the actual
feedback, and fix it. I think
experience
yeah,
is
it's
difficult.
doable.
Good. Great.
Great. Back to you, Kelly.
Well, I think James is joining us.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry I'm a little late. I actually had the hour wrong and I was traveling earlier today. So
Hello, James.
Hi, James.
Hi, thank you everyone. I'm glad to see so many people here. But I'm glad so many people could make it, especially on a Monday night. I know it's not always an easy time. So but I'm really excited to kind of be here and yeah, maybe pick up a little bit of Tagalog on the way.
That's what
I don't know if
I'm
I'll need too many.
Oh boy.
Just to let you know, James, thank you for all that you've done to make this all possible.
Well, thanks. I'm glad. We started kind of working on something almost. I think we started looking for a way to put a class together quite a while ago, and it finally it all kind of came together. We got I started talking to Carmen in California, and she knew about Pia, and we had a great contact there, and someone in another state, another counterpart of ours, recommended Cully as another teacher, and everything has just been worked out great. They worked really hard to put together this course, and working with Carmen, it's been a really interesting experience getting it all put together, and I'm really excited that yeah, it's all happening now.
It's amazing to think we've come all this way. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the course, and I'm glad I get a chance to kind of sit in and see how it goes.
And we are all very grateful for all this, truly.
I agree. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see, hopefully a lot more certified Tagalog interpreters in the near future. For
Yes.
That
Washington and California will be the powerhouse states for it too. So it'll be nice too.
We'll be famous.
We'll be charging powerhouse prices too.
You bet.
Okay.
All right. Well, one of the things that it's kind of the elephant in the room that we've been mentioning is the whole idea of this certification exam, and we've touched on it to a degree, but I do want to get into a little bit more of the specifics. And again, our emphasis is always on turning you into even better interpreters than you already are. But there is information about how the exam works that you can use on the day of the exam, and as you work up to it to help you. All right. Basically, here's a little bit of history for us all. I know we're not here for a history lesson, but here we go anyway. On August 11, 2000, the president signed Executive Order 13166. Do you guys remember who was president on August 11, 2000? It was
Clinton?
It
Clinton,
was.
I was going to say it.
It was Clinton clear back then. And we, as in terms of our field anyway, owe him a big thank you because he signed Executive Order 13166. It's called Improving Access to Services for Persons with Limited English Proficiency. And it was actually born of some of the mandates that came out of the Civil Rights Act, specifically Title VI. which prohibits discrimination against anyone receiving from programs receiving federal financial assistance if discrimination is based on race, color, and national origin. So the thinking back in August of 2011 went that if you have limited English proficiency, if you're not provided language access assistance, you therefore suffer discrimination. And so this executive order came into being, and the mandate was that any agency who collects federal monies must provide meaningful access to any services that these agencies provide. Basically, if you're getting money from the federal government and you are serving people who are in this country, you have to allow them access to your services in a language that is understandable to them. So basically, this is why we have jobs as interpreters. That was clear back in 2000, the year 2000, and the foundation for that was built in this profession even prior. And now here we are, almost 20 years later, and the work that we've done over the course of those nearly 2 decades has all been in this aim to provide meaningful access. And one huge portion of that is to provide qualified interpreters, and qualified not necessarily in the sense of having passed with a certain number on an exam, but people who possess the skills and the abilities to execute those skills that are needed to make sure services are provided in a meaningful way. Okay? So, because we were back in the year 2000 and prior, this mandate was sent out, we began the process of equipping different agencies with qualified interpreters, and that led to the development of the exam that we've all faced at one point or another in our careers. Because the emphasis is on finding interpreters who possess and can perform those skills, the emphasis from instructors is on building those skills to make you into the interpreters that you need to be in the workplace to help LEP individuals get the services they need. So that's kind of how the profession has evolved in a very, very tiny version to where we're at today. And with this, like I've said prior, my background is in teaching, and it's also over the years become teaching with an emphasis on helping people be better interpreters. And as such, I've kind of observed a lot about how people tend to approach the exam. So with that in mind, what I want to do really quick is take a little bit of a poll. So I want you to grab a sheet of scratch paper. I don't need anybody to answer out loud. Just grab a little bit of a sheet of scratch paper. All right, and I'm going to have you write some numbers on this scratch paper for me. All right, I'm going to show you some statements. Now, if you see a statement that you disagree with completely, you're going to jot a number 1 on your scratch paper. If you see a statement you agree with wholeheartedly 100%, you're going to scratch a number 4, jot a number 4 down onto your paper. And then if you fall in the middle somewhere, you'll put a 2 or a 3. Okay? So just take a second to gauge your attitudes about this bear of a certification exam that we all face as interpreters at one point or another. Okay? First statement is this: if I just have enough new exercises to practice, I'll get good enough to pass this test. Where do you fall on that scale? 1 is disagree completely. 4 is disagree or agree completely. If I just have enough new material, I can do this. Where do you fall? Second question. I already interpret in court day after day after day, so I've already done a lot of practicing for this exam. Where do you fall on that list?
Kelly, on the 1, 2, 3, and 4, can you show it to us again?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
1 means you disagree completely. 2 means you disagree somewhat.
Somewhat. Okay.
3 means you agree somewhat. And 4 means you agree completely.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. So I already interpret in court day after day. I've already done a lot of practicing. Where do you fall on this scale? Next one. Repeating the same exercises over and over again doesn't make any sense because on the day of my exam, I need to be ready to interpret something brand new. Where do you fall in agreement with this statement? Doesn't make sense to repeat an exercise because the exam is brand new. 1 means you disagree completely. 2 means you sort of disagree. 3 means you sort of agree. And 4 means you completely agree. Where do you fall? All right. If I don't have some experienced interpreter around to tell me how to say stuff, I have no hope of passing this test. Where do you fall in agreement with this one? 1, don't agree at all. 4, you completely agree. And finally, it's the legalese that's getting me. If I just knew the terms the raters want to hear, I could pass this thing. Where do you fall in your scale of agreement with this statement? It's the legalese that's getting me, or the legalese makes me flunk. If I just knew what the exam rater wants to hear, I could pass. 1, completely disagree. 4, completely agree. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Basically, what you guys just saw are a series of statements, sort of in summary form, that I've come across with people that I've trained over the course of the years that I've been doing it. It's their common thinking around the exam. So let's talk about them a little bit. The one I probably hear the most is this one. It's the legalese. If I just knew the legal terms, I'd be able to pass this test. Where do you guys fall if on this line of thinking? Were you mostly number 1s in your poll? Were you mostly number 4s in your poll? Where do you fall?
I was 1.
A 1. Okay. Disagree. What else? Where did everybody else fall? You can answer it in the chat if you want.
I put a 3 down.
Yeah, me too. I put a 3.
You sort of agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too. I put a 3.
All right. Good. Okay. This is a common line of thinking that I come across a lot when I work with people working towards improving their skills and passing the test. But actually it's a myth. And the reason it's a myth is because that thinking focuses only in on the legalese. The idea is that I already speak Filipino. All I have to do is learn the legal terms, and then I've got this thing. What people don't realize is that the test functions based on something called scoring units. And next week, we're going to take a mock exam right in class. You're going to show up. We're going to lead you through the sight exercises, the consecutive exercise, and the simultaneous exercise. You are going to have some way to record yourself, and you're going to pretend this is your certification exam experience. All right? You, in order to pass the test, need to be able to render 70% of all of the scoring units correctly, minimum. And it's much safer if you're aiming for an 80 or a 90%. What do I mean by scoring units? Scoring units are words or phrases that capture a specific type of language, where exam writers are probing to see how well you handled that type of a word that could come up in the court setting, the type of linguistic issue that's presented to you. And it's not just legal terminology that you are tested on. So there are 4 sections to the exam: cite, consecutive, simul. Each cite has 25 scoring units. The consecutive tends to have about 90 scoring units. Some older exams have fewer, but we'll go with 90. And the simultaneous tends to have about 70, well, it has exactly 75 scoring units. That's 225 words or phrases that you're being measured on, how well you can render them, all right? The entire exam has something like 2,200 words, 2,200 words. So roughly 10% of the words that you'll hear on the exam are going to count for points. But it's not just legal terms. Some of them are testing how well you know your grammar in English and Filipino. Some of them are testing how well you can keep your English and your Filipino separate, or how much one is influenced by the other. That's called language interference. Some are just general vocabulary. I was working with another group tonight, and they had to interpret crowbar for me. That's an example of a general vocabulary unit. Oh, we know what a crowbar is. We could like point at one in a tool, a hardware store, but we might not know easily how to express it in our other working language. That's general vocabulary. Legal terminology, words you hear in legal settings. Idioms and sayings, register, names and numbers, emphasis and precision, embeddings and position. These are interesting, and I'll tell you about them in a second. And slang and colloquialisms. In general terms, those 225 words that I told you about break down into this category. So the very highest category you're tested in is general vocabulary. It's not legalese. So part of the strategy here is to increase your active vocabulary in both of your languages so that you can quickly express a variety of different words. Come real work, life experience, and come exam time. After that, we go to grammar. We're testing to see how your grammar goes. After that is legal terminology. So it is still a big deal, but it's not the biggest deal. 10% is language interference. And then we move down here to these 2 categories, emphasis and precision and embeddings and position. To me, these types of words are pretty similar. So, and the main similarity is that they're very easy to omit. They're easy to forget to put into your interpretation because they're little. We don't think it's that important. If the witness says it was a bright red car, we think, if I say it was a red car, fine, I got it. No, exam evaluators want to see if you're good enough at your job to say bright red if the witness says bright red, or are you thorough enough and accurate enough to say very quickly as opposed to just quickly. Embeddings and positions, like if your attorney says isn't it right that you said you were at the hardware store that day? The isn't it right at the beginning can be easy to omit. We might want to transfer it a little bit and just say, were you at the hardware store? No, that's an embedding, and it's important to include it as it was. Or, I saw you there at 9 o'clock, right? The right on the end is a very important word, but it's easy to eliminate. These 2 categories together make up 19% of our scoring units, which is even more than grammar, even more than legal terminology. So it's important to keep an eye out on those types of terms. And then slang and colloquialisms. So even though it's a court exam and the missed scoring units in the legalese vein are the easiest ones to remember later and feel traumatized about, our actual task at hand is much broader, and we're tested on a much larger variety of linguistic features than we realize. So next week, we'll go into that in more detail. You'll see a little bit more about what we mean by all these scoring units. But keep that in mind. Okay, these other ones kind of all fit into the same myth, which you might already have an idea about. So if I have enough new exercises I can pass, I already have practice because I interpret in court. I repeat the same exercises, or repeating the same exercises over and over again doesn't make sense. Or I need an experienced interpreter to tell me all the answers, okay? Right. So our level of agreement and disagreement with these probably varies just depending on your experience. But the general myths that I see a lot of our colleagues buy into, besides the legalese one, is the idea that we need to cover a lot of material. For example, I can't waste my time redoing an exercise over and over and over again because I have too much material to cover. That's a myth, because what we need you guys to do is master this material. Just like Pia was saying, our goal for you is for you to walk into the exam and have it feel easy, not because it's easy, but because you know the information this time around, right? And to get you there, you've got to repeat your work and critique yourselves. I already interpret in court day after day, so I've already have a lot of practice. You'll learn that if you don't have a feedback mechanism, it doesn't really count as practice. So going into court and interpreting, unless you have a way to get feedback, you can call that experience, but you can't really call it practice. So we're here to help you practice, right? We've already talked about repeating your exercises. And then the idea of having an interpreter tell you how to say everything. Obviously, it's really good to collaborate, and we're going to benefit greatly from Pia's expertise. You are the ones that need to increase your vocabulary through experience. You'll learn a lot more if you learn this through experience and through failing and through collaborating with colleagues than if you just go to somebody that you consider a guru and say, how do you say this? How do you say that? How do you say this? How do you say that? All right? So we're urging you to much more active participation in your exam preparation than a lot of interpreters are used to. Okay? So I've already mentioned this, and I included it in 2 different portions of this presentation precisely because of how important it is. Where the magic happens is in that focus, feedback, fix it that we were talking about. You perform the exercise, you find your mistakes, you research those mistakes, and you fix them through rehearsal, and then you repeat that exercise. There are times when it's going to be grueling, there's times when it's going to feel like boot camp, but the amount of growth that you'll see at the end will make it worth it. Okay? Successful interpreters have what you see on this screen: fluency in both of their languages, access to quality interpreting exercises. I think that's something that has been a long time coming for you guys, and you finally got it. We need you to have a system for reviewing and repeating your work will help you. A system for studying your terminology will help you there too, and then support from us. Okay? Your job each week: record yourself. Of course, this will start next week. Now this week is just orientation, right? Perform and record yourself. Analyze those mistakes. Drill all those mistakes as terminology. And redo your exercises so we're at 80-90%. Okay? I hope that's sticking in there. It's important. All right, what questions do we have at this point? Pia, anything?
I have one.
Okay.
Will we be doing any sampling, for example, in front of the class where we actually have to be having exercises with everyone?
Yes.
Yes,
but
that's the
not
short
all
answer.
the time.
That was just a one-word answer. Yes.
Okay.
But not all 20 talking, okay? One at a time. Mahinang kalaban.
Yes, and it's it's very, very intimidating. I think it's more intimidating to interpret in front of a group of people who speak my language and who I respect than it is to actually perform my job. But we are in here to support each other. We would like nothing more than to see all of you take things up a level. And so when you perform in front of your class, it's not so we can leave and say, oh my gosh, so-and-so up in that corner of Washington. Oh dear. No, we're here to give you tips, support, and we're here to learn from each other. So, yeah.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Kelly, I have a question though.
Yes.
Looking at all this, this is really an item to really help you pass the exam. And granted, what I fail to see though is the time element that they put you under during the exam. That to me is the sticking part of the exam.
Yes.
The length of in the consecutive portion, the length of the statement to be translated back to the target language. Second, it's the time element that they give you to perform for the task or the side translation, for example. That to me is the pressure point.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, I'll leave.
No. Well, go ahead.
I agree because the examinations that I have taken, my main problem was it seems like the amount of time that is allowed is when it is like in English, and English is a lot shorter. Not shorter than Filipino or Tagalog.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
that's the problem that I had. And when I took the examination, I think I've taken it twice or 3 times.
Good. I'm going to add that to my list of my poll for the next group that I work with. Thank you for bringing this up.
And not to mention even the nerves too. I mean, they're already like anxious and nervous as it is, and like, oh my God, I'm under time pressure too.
Right. It's so nerve-wracking. The exam is so nerve-wracking. But it was born, I think, the gal who played a major part in developing the first exams, which were unsurprisingly enough in Spanish. That's where the most demand was at the time that this really started gaining traction, was Roseanne Gonzalez out of the University of Arizona. And she performed academic research to figure out what is required of interpreters in the court setting. There were forums with judges and forums with attorneys and forums with linguists, and what was discovered was that part of what we do as interpreters, like it or not, does involve a time crunch. So the exam was designed to find minimal competency in these different skills. So the time limits were established, to basically, for lack of a better word, eliminate candidates who were unsuccessful at managing the time, not because those candidates don't know the information, but because the demands of the courtroom will many times require us to be much quicker on our feet than is even presented in the exam. So yes, there is no doubt that this exam is a bear. It's hard. And that time factor and the pressure of the exam and the fact that I can't take it again for 6 months and it costs me all this money, all of those things really add up. But we will help you work with those time limits in class. Like when we take this mock exam, we'll have those time limits. And what we find is that researcher that I mentioned before, Kayat and Anders Ericsson, calls them mental representations. But basically what it means is the more you know the terminology and the topics that are commonly going to appear in our work as court interpreters, the quicker you are able to produce your renditions, the more adept you become at your job. So probably a portion of what was going on when you were faced with this exam wasn't that you didn't know Filipino well enough. It wasn't that you weren't comprehending the English. It was that you were still, the circuits up in your brain weren't really connected quickly to simplify how it all works up in your brain. And you were taking a lot of mental time to come up with your rendition. But the more confident you are in the terminology and how you're going to render these ideas, the more quickly they'll come to you. And that time factor on the exam will start to alleviate itself. It won't ever be easy, but the more you know the topic, the less daunting the time limit will be.
I can't wait for that time.
Let's hope.
Thank you, Kelly, for that insight.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
What other questions?
I just would like to add that obviously in the actual courtroom, you don't have time to stop and think of what the next rendering would be. So the test is actually, if you think about it, it's giving you more time than if you were in the actual courtroom. Because in the actual courtroom, it's almost, you have to be more quick
on your feet. Yes.
On your feet. And imagine if you were doing simultaneous interpretation for the UN.
Oh, wow.
It is this quick.
Right.
And so what we are doing here is helping you focus, getting you enough, really expertise in the language. And the more you do it, it just comes naturally for you. And your advantage is you're actual interpreters in court. Imagine somebody who hasn't had this sort of experience. I cannot do this I can't be a court interpreter because I lack the day-to-day experience. I am a language expert. I can tell you right now what the words are, but the pressure is a different challenge altogether. And it's true po, Manong, when you said mas mahaba yung Tagalog talaga eh. Yung English, mas mahaba talaga sa Tagalog. That's totoo yan. Pero, mayroon pong mga paraan para mas mapabilis.
I feel like what Pia said, to accomplish half of what Pia said, I need a 20-week course instead of but I'm going to try what I can do. So
we'll start with 10 weeks. Maybe we can work up to 20.
Well, it's 10 years and 20 years in the actual courtroom.
Oh.
It's what you will think.
I was going to say, there is such a thing as mental fatigue. That's why in court, the reason why you get really bogged down with interpreting is because the mental fatigue sets in, and your capability of connecting the words to your, vocabulary of Filipino words become strained.
Yes, it's exhausting. And I think, Carmen, did you have thoughts on this for us? I see your hand up.
I think I wanted to just mention that I think mental fatigue is worse than physical fatigue. Oh my gosh, can't do anymore. I feel mentally fatigued. So it's true what he said.
It's a big job. We definitely have a big job on our hands.
But we're here, so we're going to try.
We are. Okay, let me ask you quickly some review of what we've talked about, and then we'll close off with any last questions that come up for you guys. From there, this session will automatically generate a recording, and then that's one thing, you'll be able to find it. Oh gosh, am I sharing my screen? Probably not anymore. You'll be able to find, I haven't published the link yet, but when you guys go, this is Canvas again, when you go to modules, there will soon be a heading like week 1, it will say recorded sessions. And you'll see the link to YouTube that will, and it's private, it's not out there for the whole world to find. It's only people who have the link will be able to see the video. But it'll be in Canvas. That's where you'll go. So if something comes up, or you have your prearranged time where you have to be out of town, to find our sessions, you go to Canvas, and you'll find your way under modules. Okay. All right. Or you say, where was that again? Okay. Okay. So really quick, you can turn your microphones on. We'll just go through this. True or false? The main point of this class is to get you to pass the test.
False.
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 Well, true kind of by extension, right? But false in that the main point of this class is to help you be better at your jobs. Whoopsies. There we go. Okay. Next one. What are the 2 components of this class that I went through? Oh, this one's tricky.
Working as a team and working independently as individuals.
Woo-hoo!
Yes.
Was that all the way from Manila, that answer?
Yes.
So. Nice. Across the ocean. Good work. Okay. So the work we do as a team, how do you do it?
Zoom.
Like this session.
You join
via the Zoom class.
Zoom.
Exactly. Click on the link just like you did tonight. You run into trouble, you've got my number, you've got Pia's number. Way to go. Okay. When do we meet anyway?
Mondays.
6
p.m. Pacific.
6 p.m. Pacific.
6 to 8
Pacific time.
One down, and if Connie has her way, right. One down, and if Connie has her way, we have another 19 to go. Oh no.
Oh, I'm praying hard.
Okay, true or false, you don't have to attend all class meetings.
False.
False.
False. We do want you present at all class meetings. However, if you have commitments that you already know about, let us know right away, and we'll work on an excused absence basis, and we'll get it figured out so you can still benefit from the class. You will be able to see the recordings. Even those of you who were in class can still access the recordings. Do everything you can to be here live, because it's what's going to make it motivating, and this is where you're going to get the bulk of your feedback from your resident court interpreter, and more importantly, your Filipino language expert. So this is where that magic part happens. So come if you can. Okay. On your own, what are you supposed to be doing each week?
Practice.
Widen your vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Languages.
Do the
Yes.
exercises.
Exercises. So I'm okay if Sunday night I just sit down and I whip through the exercises once and show up on Monday, right?
No.
No. What am I doing? I'm doing an exercise. I'm recording myself. I'm being like, oh my gosh, I'm a disaster when I translate. I've got to do this better, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm working on it over the course of the week. What do I do if I find a term that no matter how hard I try, I can't quite say it right?
Call Pia.
You call Pia.
Yes, call Pia.
Yes.
Or just panic.
Yeah.
Panic first, then call Pia.
Yes.
Yes, that works.
P is for panic P.
Right. And you also turn it after you have an answer from our guru Pia. You turn it into a flashcard and you make it something you're drilling yourself on every day so that you lock it in. You'll be amazed. Just give it a shot. It's going to be a lot easier to remember those challenging words if you review them every day. Okay? All right. You have issues. You're panicking. Who do you call?
Pia.
Pia.
And
You can call
Kelly.
And Kelly.
Yeah, hey.
Kelly and Pia.
I cannot help you with Filipino, obviously, but I can help you get connected if things go awry. All right? True or false? Sharing exam material with other participants is prohibited. This is something we didn't emphasize. I wonder if you can guess it.
Sharing with other participants.
True.
False.
False.
Okay. If this were referring to our mock exams in class, and you're like calling up your friend across the river, and saying, wait, the scoring unit number 90 was this, and I don't know how to say it. What did you say? That's okay. But can you come to class and say, hey, when I took the exam in 1999, the site translation was about that gunpoint robbery.
Yeah. You can't.
Okay.
No.
False.
No.
True.
That's a big
That's
no.
false.
That's
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So
That's true.
sharing. So if that's the case, sharing that kind of exam material with other participants is prohibited. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you guys have all signed an oath that said, I swear I won't share exam material with anyone. Okay.
Confidentiality. Yeah.
Confidentiality, right? The advantage here is I truly cannot accidentally share any information with you because I've never seen the Filipino exam. So help me stay that way, right? I have no idea. Okay? And just resist that temptation to say, but when I took the test, I was so confused about this term. Don't do that. Think before you throw that stuff out there. It's important to try to it's important to keep the exam reliable, and we play a big part in that by not sharing the material. Again, our job as your instructors is to help you be way over prepared. So we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about just with what we have prepared for you. All right? Okay. Yes.
Yeah. In regards to material, the glossary, you're going to distribute the glossary prior to the mock trials or mock exams?
Pia, where is that glossary anyway? That's a great question.
Yes,
Should we?
I have a glossary that I will upload. We will put it under modules. I'm just making sure that everything is in order. But for each exam, you will receive a glossary for the practice exam. Then there's that big one. That's an A to Z glossary that you will receive.
Thank you, Pia.
Yes. Now,
Mahalo.
Aloha. The list of terms. Oopsies, we're echoing again. The list of terms that you'll get for that mock exam, you'll get that after you take it. And part of the reason is that philosophy of making yourself attempt the exercise, even if it's overwhelming and it goes really poorly. Because when you go back through and see that whole list of scoring units, it locks in better after you've already failed at it once. And then the next time you go through, it'll be much, much better. But you will get a list of everything. This is how it is. This is the rendition.
That makes sense.
All right.
That makes
All right.
Kelly,
Thank you,
I think
Kelly.
Carmen wants to say something.
Yes.
Carmen, come in.
I saw the raised hand too. But I'm wondering if there's issues with the echo.
She's just saying, can you hear me? It's on my screen, just from Carmen to everyone. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can't hear you. But is there something in the chat that you'd like to share that we can read?
She said, I'm talking now.
No, we can't hear you. Darn it.
Maybe her microphone is still on mute.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find her.
Sure, next class, not sure.
Yeah, Carmen, maybe we can practice during the week as well and see. Maybe it's maybe it's the microphone on the computer. Who knows? But we'll troubleshoot. And we will take it up again next week. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions that we can answer before we sign off? For what is Pia's early evening, for what is your night, for what is my bedtime?
Kelly, one more question. Does this course count as CEU unit?
Which state are you in?
Washington.
I will check with James on that. If he's still
Okay.
here, he may be able to answer.
Okay.
But if he's not, we can check.
Okay, thank you.
So part of what I'll explore with James and Carmen, one of you was asking about if I pass my test in California, can I also be a certified interpreter in Washington? That's a reciprocity agreement that I'm not versed on, but we'll find out the answer for you. And then the question as to whether or not this would count as your CEU.
James jumping
We'll find that out. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. So to answer the question about does it count as CEUs, I don't believe so. I think in our policy we exam study kind of courses are not considered CEUs, but I will look into that further and see if that can be changed. And the reciprocity as well, we have some different policies that we can kind of talk about a little later, but usually there's a way to get reciprocity from one state to the other. We can figure that out.
Sorry, what is CEU? What does that stand for?
Oh, a CEU is a continuing education unit. So interpreters that are certified generally have to take a certain number of education courses it differs from state to state. In Washington, It's every 2 years. You have to take 16 hours of education courses.
In order to practice in the state?
Yeah, in order to kind of maintain what your certification.
Continue.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you guys, we've emphasized plenty that you have our contact information. So if during the week any questions come up, any concerns happen, please let us know. We'll get things rolling. You can expect an email from me next Monday during the day that will remind you of the link to click to join us. We will do our first mock exam next week. And Carmen and I will be touching base to figure out this so that she can answer questions on reciprocity and CEUs and other California state-specific questions next week. All right. Again, a huge thank you to everybody for being here.
Thank you,
I'm
Kelly.
excited.
Thank you, Pia.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Kelly, and thank
Salamat,
you,
Pia.
Pia.
Till next week.
Salamat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
Thank you. Have a
Salamat.
yeah, good day. Bye.
See you
Good
next week.
night.
Good
Sounds
night.
great.
See you next
Thanks,
week.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.